we're dreaming of reaching our first 1,000 subscribers. Subscribe and be the first to discover new stories every day. I walked into the kitchen, the smell of frying eggs hitting me as I dropped my keys on the counter. Lauren was at the stove, her back to me, flipping the spatula with short, jerky movements. It was a Saturday morning in our Denver home, sunlight slicing through the blinds, but the air felt heavy. She hadn't said a word since I'd gotten up. No good morning. No glance, just the scrape of metal on the pan. My jaw tightened, but I pushed it down. I stepped up behind her, wrapping my arms around her waist. Not some desperate grab, just a husband trying to feel like this was still home, like she was still mine. She didn't lean in, didn't pause, just kept cooking, then said, flat and cold, "I don't see you as a man anymore, Matt. You're just convenient to have around." My arms froze. My chest tightened like a vice, my breath catching. I let go, stepping back, my sneakers squeaking on the tile. My pulse pounded in my ears, but I kept my face blank. "Convenient," I said, my voice low and sharp. "Got it. So I'm your live-in ATM? Your handyman? Don't be shocked if I start acting like a lamp. Useful, but not exactly warm." She snorted, a quick, dismissive sound, and shook her head. "You're so dramatic," she said, her voice edged with irritation, as she slid the eggs onto a plate. "It's not that serious." She brushed past me, her ponytail swinging, and headed for the bathroom. The door clicked shut, leaving me staring at the greasy pan. My hands clenched, knuckles white, then relaxed. I wasn't chasing her. That's what she wanted. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from Lauren. "No, sorry. No, let's talk. Just a link to some webinar and one line. Pay for this. I need it for my certification." "No, please." Like I was her Venmo bot. My throat went dry, a hot prickle running up my neck. I set the phone down, my fingers twitching, and poured a coffee, the mug warm in my hands. If she thought I was furniture, fine. Furniture doesn't click by now. The next day, we were in my truck, driving to her yoga studio in Boulder. The radio hummed some pop song, and Lauren sat in the passenger seat, scrolling her phone, her thumb flicking like she was swiping me out of existence. I'd been replaying her convenient line all night, practicing a comeback in my head, but it never sounded right. Too forced, too weak. My jaw was tight, my knuckles pale on the wheel. I wasn't letting this slide, but I needed to hit hard, not flail. "So," I said, my voice casual but pointed, "you sure yoga's your thing? All those sweaty, touchy-feely types stretching next to you, all connected. You said you're done with men's bodies, right? Might get awkward if some dude's warrior pose gets too close." She froze, her thumb hovering over the screen. Her shoulders stiffened, and she gripped her phone tighter, her knuckles whitening. "What's that supposed to mean?" she said, her voice tight, almost spitting, her eyes flicking to me, narrow and sharp. I shrugged, keeping my eyes on the road, a smirk tugging at my lips. "Just looking out for you. You're so checked out from anything male, might be weird being around all that energy. Thought you'd rather skip it." My heart beat faster, a thrill at seeing her squirm, but my voice stayed steady. I'd nailed the tone this time. She let out a sharp laugh, but it cracked, forced. "You're being ridiculous," she said, her voice rising, and jealous, apparently. She leaned back, crossing her arms, her nails digging into her sleeves. "You've gotten so passive, Matt. No initiative, no spark. It's like you're just there." My chest tightened, but I kept my cool, my smirk widening. "Passive," I said, my voice low and mocking. "Nah, I'm just saving my battery. Why waste juice on someone who's not plugged in?" I glanced at her, my eyes hard. "You don't want a man, Lauren. You want a power bank." Her lips parted, but no words came. Her eyes darted away, and she uncrossed her arms, her hands fidgeting in her lap. She pulled out her phone again, snapping a photo of her sneakers on the dash. I caught a glimpse of her Instagram story later. Self-care comes first. My jaw clenched, a hot spike of anger in my gut, but I didn't say anything. Not yet. I'd hit harder when it counted. The rest of the drive was silent, her breathing sharp, my pulse steady. Round one, me. Tuesday night, we had her brother Ryan over for dinner. Lauren's idea, and I knew why. She wanted an audience, someone to prop up her act. The dining room smelled of roasted chicken and garlic. The table set with her fancy plates, napkins folded like she was auditioning for Martha Stewart. Lauren played the perfect wife, smiling wide, pouring sparkling water, but her eyes were cold when they flicked to me. Ryan, a stocky guy with a beard and a loud laugh, sat across from me, digging in. She waited until we were halfway through, then leaned back, twirling her glass, her smile sharp. "Matt's been so touchy lately," she said, her voice light but cutting. "Everything's a big deal to him. It's like he's forgotten how to be a man." Her eyes locked on mine, daring me to react. Ryan chuckled, glancing at me like he expected me to laugh it off. My fork stopped midair. My chest tightened, a dull ache spreading, but I kept my face blank. I set the fork down, slow and deliberate, and leaned forward, my eyes on hers. "Funny you say that," I said, my voice calm but hard as steel. "You keep calling me unmanly, but you don't mind when I'm fixing the sink, driving you to yoga, or paying for your webinars. If I'm not a man, Lauren, maybe I should stick to being decor. Sit in the corner, look nice, stop bankrolling your life." Ryan coughed, nearly choking on his water. His eyes dropped to his plate, and he stabbed at his chicken like it owed him money. Lauren's smile froze, her lips twitching. "You're blowing this out of proportion," she said, her voice sharp, rising with irritation. "It was a joke, Matt." "Was it?" I said, raising an eyebrow, my voice steady. "You've been running that joke into the ground. Sounds more like a script you're perfecting." I leaned back, folding my arms, my pulse hammering, but my tone even. "If I'm just a prop, let me know. I can scale back. Save us both the hassle." The room went quiet. Ryan shifted in his seat, his fork scraping the plate. He glanced at Lauren, then me, and said, his voice low, "Look, you two sound like you forgot why you're even together. If dinner's a battlefield, I'm grabbing a soda and bailing." He forced a laugh, but his eyes were serious, flicking to Lauren like he was waiting for her to back off. She didn't. Her eyes flashed, and she leaned forward, her voice tight. "Matt's the one making it a fight," she said, her tone accusing. "He's so sensitive lately, it's exhausting." My chest ached, not from her words, but from the sheer weight of having to defend myself at my own table. I wanted to shame her, make her see how small she looked, but I was tired of the game. "Exhausting's you acting like I'm your employee," I said, my voice low and hard. "You want to talk sensitive? Try being your husband while you treat me like a line item. Keep it up, Lauren. See how that works out." Ryan cleared his throat, muttering, "Chicken's great, though." Lauren's knuckles whitened around her glass, but she didn't respond. The rest of the dinner was tense, her laughter forced, her glances at Ryan desperate. He didn't bite. I felt a grim satisfaction, but it was hollow. I shouldn't have to fight for respect in my own house. Wednesday morning, I was at the kitchen counter, sipping coffee, when my phone buzzed. "Lauren, you paying for my course renewal? It's due tomorrow." No greeting, no context, just the demand. My jaw clenched, a familiar heat in my chest. I typed, slow and deliberate, "Here's a freelance site. Plenty of guys out there paying strangers for attention. I'm not one of them anymore." I hit send, a smirk tugging at my lips. She didn't reply. When she came downstairs, her hair wet, she didn't look at me, just grabbed her keys and said, "I'm meeting Jess for brunch." Her voice was clipped, punishing. I leaned against the counter, sipping my coffee. "Have fun," I said, my voice mocking. "Let me know if Jess needs a ride too. I'm super convenient like that." She froze, her hand on the doorknob, then walked out without a word. My smirk widened. Round two me. That afternoon, I was at the gym with Nate, my buddy from work. He's a lanky IT guy with a dry sense of humor and a knack for calling out nonsense. We were on the treadmills, sweat dripping, when I told him about Lauren's convenient line in the dinner with Ryan. He laughed, shaking his head. "Man, she's treating you like a Spotify subscription," he said, his voice loud over the machines. "Cancel that, Matt. You're worth more than her autopay." I grinned, my legs pumping. "Already on it," I said, my voice firm. "She's about to find out what happens when the free trial's over." Nate's words stuck, a reminder I wasn't crazy. Later, at work, he pulled me aside during a coffee break. "Seriously, dude," he said, his voice low, "you've given her too much. She's got you on a leash because you let her. Cut it." His bluntness hit hard, like a wake-up call. I nodded, my jaw tight. He was right. Friday night, I got home from work, my tie loose, my shoulders tight. The house was too quiet, but I heard Lauren's voice, loud and sharp, from the living room, mixed with Jess's fake laugh. My gut twisted. I knew this setup, Lauren venting, Jess egging her on. I dropped my bag by the door, my pulse quickening, and caught her words. Matt's been so petty lately, acting like I owe him something just for existing. It's exhausting. Jess chimed in, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. God, that's so immature. Some guys just can't handle a strong woman. My blood boiled. In my head, I thought, bet she practiced that line in front of the mirror. I leaned against the doorway, crossing my arms, my heart racing. Petty, huh? I said, my voice low but cutting. That's rich, coming from someone who texts me payment links like I'm her PayPal. What's exhausting, Lauren, is you treating me like your errand boy instead of your husband. Lauren's head snapped toward me, her eyes wide. Don't start, she hissed, her voice shaking with anger. You're embarrassing me in front of Jess. No, you're embarrassing yourself, I said, stepping into the room, my voice hard but calm. You keep saying I'm not a man, but you're happy to let me pay for your yoga, your courses, your phone. You want me to be furniture? Fine. Furniture doesn't drive you to brunch or fix your laptop. Pick a lane. Jess opened her mouth, her eyes flashing. You're just mad because Lauren's growing, and you can't keep up, she said, her voice shrill. She's out there building a career, and you're, what, sulking? I turned to Jess, my voice cold and sharp. Building a career? You call it growth when every step forward comes with a bill she hands me? Jess, you don't live here. Maybe don't lecture me on my marriage. Her jaw dropped, her face red. Lauren's hands clenched in her lap, her eyes glistening. You're being a jerk, Lauren said, her voice loud, cracking with frustration. Why can't you just support me? Support, I said, my voice rising but controlled. I've supported you for years, your classes, your phone, your gas. What I won't support is you treating me like a doormat while you cry about how hard your life is. You don't respect me, Lauren. You don't even see me. You just see my wallet. Her mouth opened, then closed. Jess looked away, her hands fidgeting. Lauren stood up, her hands shaking. You're making this impossible, she said, her voice breaking. I can't do this anymore. Then don't, I said, my voice cold and final. Figure out how to pay for your own life, if I'm so useless. I turned and walked upstairs, my footsteps heavy, my chest tight. I didn't feel triumph, just a cold clarity. Lauren wasn't a partner. She was a child playing house, and I was done. The next Saturday, we were at a brewery in Rhino with friends. Lauren had been icing me out, but she showed up all smiles, playing the happy wife. I wasn't buying it. We were at a high-top table, the air thick with hops and fried food, surrounded by Nate, Ryan, and a few others. Lauren was chatting with Mike, a gym bro friend of Ryan's. Laughing too loud, touching his arm, her eyes flicking to me to see if I'd bite. I'd overheard her earlier, whispering to Jess, Matt never reacts. I can do whatever. I leaned back, sipping my soda, my pulse steady. Wow, Lauren, I said, my voice loud enough for the table. You're really into Mike's gym stories. Didn't know you were so into deadlifts. Thought you were over men's energy. My tone was light, but my eyes were locked on hers, sharp and unyielding. The table went quiet. Lauren's laugh cut off, her hand dropping from Mike's arm. Her cheeks flushed, and she leaned forward, her voice tight. What's that supposed to mean? She said, her eyes flashing. Just making sure you're good, I said, my voice calm but cutting. You said I'm not a man, so I figured you're practicing for the single life. Mike's a great warm-up. I raised my glass, a mock toast, my heart pounding but my face relaxed. 10 seconds of silence followed, every eye on us. Mike shifted, confused. I was just talking about CrossFit, man, he said, his voice awkward. No worries, I said, my voice mocking, a smirk on my lips. She thinks I'm furniture. You're just a folding chair, temporary. Nate barked a laugh. Ryan hid a smirk, and Jess looked away, her face red. Lauren stood up, her chair scraping, her hands shaking. You're such an asshole, she hissed, her voice breaking with anger. Why do you have to ruin everything? Ruin, I said, leaning forward, my voice hard. You're flirting in front of me like I'm invisible. You don't get to play the victim when I call it out. You want attention? Pay for it yourself. The table stayed silent. Mike muttered something about another drink and bailed. Lauren grabbed her purse and stormed out. Ryan leaned over, his voice low. She's way out of line, he said, his eyes serious. You've put up with too much, man. His words hit like a lifeline. Even her brother saw it. The next week, I stopped playing her game. I didn't pay her phone bill. I didn't fill her car. Her streaming apps logged out, passwords changed. When she hinted about a ride to yoga, I said, thought I was furniture. Uber's got you. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't push. Her phone screen stayed dark one night, and she muttered about slow Wi-Fi. I didn't fix it. Friday evening, she was in the living room, arms crossed, face tight, with Jess on the couch. You let me miss my course deadline, Lauren said, her voice loud, trembling with fake hurt. That was my career, Matt. How could you do that? I leaned against the wall, my voice calm. You missed it because you didn't pay. I said, my tone even. I'm not your bank. You said I'm not a man, so why am I funding your dreams? You've got a job. Use it. Jess jumped in, her voice shrill. You're sabotaging her, she said, her eyes wide. She's trying to grow, and you're holding her back. Jess, I said, my voice cold and sharp. This isn't your marriage. You want to help? Venmo her the fee. I'm done being the bad guy for setting boundaries. Jess's mouth snapped shut. Lauren's eyes glistened, and she leaned forward, her voice breaking. You're punishing me, she said, playing the victim. I didn't mean what I said. I was stressed. Why can't you let it go? I stepped closer, my voice low and hard. Because you don't get to call me useless and cry when I stop playing along. You want to talk stress? Try being your husband while you treat me like a line item. You don't respect me, Lauren. You don't even like me. You like what I do for you. That's not a marriage. That's a hustle. Her mouth opened, then closed. Jess looked away. Lauren sank onto the couch, her face pale. I didn't mean it like that, she whispered, her voice small. Then why say it? I said, my voice cold, unrelenting. Why keep saying it? Why text me demands like I'm your assistant? You made your choice. Live with it. I walked out, my chest tight, a cold clarity settling in. 2 months later, I'd had enough. I'd contacted a lawyer, started the divorce process, and had papers ready. The house was mine. I'd paid every mortgage, every bill. Lauren had contributed nothing but complaints. That evening, I found her in the living room, scrolling her laptop, her face tense. Her phone was dark, data cut off. She looked up, her eyes wary. We need to talk, I said, my voice calm but hard, standing by the couch. I dropped the divorce papers on the coffee table, the thud loud in the quiet room. Her eyes widened, her hands freezing on the keyboard. What's this? She said, her voice small, trembling. Divorce papers, I said, my tone flat, my pulse steady. I'm done, Lauren. You've made it clear I'm not your husband, just your wallet. So I'm cutting you off. The house is mine. The car's mine. Everything I paid for stays with me. You've got until tomorrow to pack your clothes and makeup. That's all you're taking. Her face paled, her lips parting. Matt, no, she said, her voice breaking, standing up. You can't do this. I didn't mean it. I was stressed, I was wrong. Please, let's fix this. Her eyes filled with tears, her hands reaching for me. I stepped back, my voice cold as ice. Fix what? I said, my eyes locked on hers. You call me convenient. You said I'm not a man. You flirted with other guys, demanded my money, and treated me like a servant. You don't get to cry now and expect a reset. You wanted freedom? You've got it. No more internet. No more rides. No more free lunch. Pack your bags. She shook her head, tears streaming, her voice desperate. I'm sorry, she said, her hands shaking. I'll change. I'll be better. We had good times, Matt. Remember our trip to Aspen? The way we laughed? We can get that back. I leaned forward, my voice low and hard. You're not sorry, I said, my tone unrelenting. You're scared. Scared of losing your meal ticket. Those good times. You threw them away every time you opened your mouth. You wanted a man who'd shut up, pay up, and wait for your mood to swing. You found him. He's just not here anymore. I paused, letting the words sink in. Get out of my house. Her shoulders slumped, her sobs quiet. She sank onto the couch, her hands covering her face. I turned and walked upstairs, my steps firm, my chest light. The next morning, I watched her load a duffel bag into an Uber, her face red, her eyes down. The divorce went through smoothly. My lawyer made sure I kept the house, the truck, the accounts. She got nothing but her clothes and a lesson. 6 months later, I'm still in my house, the one I built. Works good. I'm a project manager, just got a raise. Nate and I hit the gym on weekends, and I've been hiking in Golden, the trails clearing my head. The place feels quiet, clean mine. I heard Lauren's crashing at Jess's, struggling with rent. I don't check her socials. I don't need to. I know my worth, and it's not tied to her demands. If I share my life again,